Hello everyone, welcome back to another video where today I want to take a look at the new sort of trailer for The War Between the Legacy, or mini trailer, or whatever you want to call it, part of that ARG game. But the thing that I found really interesting about it is that it actually showed us that there are multiple species of sea devils in this show, or at least there seems to be. So I'm going to be going into all the details, so subscribe if you're new, that would be greatly appreciated, and let's dive right in. So I actually saw this first of all on Instagram. The TARDIS is headed to one more destination. Can unit figure out where to find it? And then it talks a bit about Cardiff Bay, and there was a sighting of the TARDIS at Cardiff Bay, basically, which leads us to this website, which they've linked in their bio. Let me have a look. Unit Mission Phase 5. It says, Incident Updates from General Austin Pierce, Head of Unit Field Operations. Cardiff Bay is a known spot for refueling the TARDIS. Which is why we believe it remained there for almost a full hour, materializing at approximately 9:10 GMT. Attempts by unit ops to access or move the box were unsuccessful during this time, but they were not met with any hostile action or retaliation. Scientific advisor Maurice Gibbons had the ingenious idea of attuning the time window to the Artron probes that we have been using to detect the TARDIS materialization. With the method, we may be able to interpret the TARDIS's next message through time, giving us ample preparation to meet it at the next location. So essentially the idea is you've got to find the next location at which the TARDIS is going to land, and it basically has this little kind of game thing here with all the old locations. Well, what have I not done at this point? There we go. So I've attuned the thing. If I click enter, congratulations, you completed the mission in 37 seconds. That seems to do it. The hint is pulsing handsets dot held, which then if you put that into what 3 words, it will lead you to Stonehenge. So I think it's a little bit off there, but it's supposed to lead you to Stonehenge. So I think you're supposed to then type in into this thing here, you type in Stonehenge, it loads up, and it links you to another one of these videos, which we are now going to be taking a look at. This one is hosted by the General, who I assume is going to be like the main commander of the series, who I think we've seen before in like the Doctor Who universe, maybe even as a general, but I can't be sure. I know that the actor's been in it before, for definite.
Mission brief. Subject, Barclay Pierre DuPont. Barclay is a low-level civilian employee of the Unified Intelligence Task Force, the most ordinary of men. But today, his life changes. Today, Barclay takes his place on the front line.
I bid you welcome, and bring to session this diplomatic congress.
The world is on the brink of war.
It is time to unite against the common enemy.
And this ordinary man is our best hope for peace. But why have Aquakind chosen him as human ambassador? What invisible undercurrents have drawn them together? Can he cope with the pressure, scrutiny, and the danger? Can he and his family survive what's coming? And can this ordinary man save the human race?
Very interested. I'm very curious about this show. I have to say, with everything that I've been seeing about it, I've been getting more kind of like confident that this could actually be pretty good. Like, obviously, so in terms of what we learned from this little trailer, we know that the main character's name is not only Barclay, but we now have a surname, which is Pierre DuPont, which seems very French, which is interesting. But the most interesting part of this to me comes somewhat later in the trailer, where they're talking about, obviously, he's the most ordinary man and today his life changes. This bit here, which obviously I can get a closer up image of that I've seen some people post, it shows 2 different sea devils with 2 different names. You've got Homo amphibia and Homo erectus. Ooh. But that basically implies that there are 2 separate like subspecies of sea devils. So it's not just that they're all one species, it's that actually there are multiple different types. Now, I don't know whether this is just their way of referring to the different genders of the sea devil, if that makes sense. Like how we have, like, obviously, you know, like the male or the female, if they have amphibious and erectus as their, like, equivalent of that, I'm not sure. Or whether it is more of a species differentiation, because, obviously, we see the bit here where it zooms in on the kind of the design of them, but then it says Barclay Pierre DuPont, you can see his heart rate, and then it says Homo amphibia, and then it says Homo erectus, which implies to me that they're 2 separate species, not 2 separate, like, genders of the same species. Does that make sense? The fact that they're being monitored separately implies to me that they're two separate, like, species, essentially. Especially because we know that the main sea devil's name is Salt. So it's not like Homo amphibia is just her name. That's her, like, technical name. So it seems like Homo aqua, if I can speculate for a bit, refers to the entire collective of the sea devils as a thing. And then Homo amphibia and Homo erectus are two separate subsets of sea devils. Maybe this also explains why they don't look like traditional sea devils, because they are an offshoot species, essentially, a different evolution of said species, which honestly I think would be pretty cool, because then you could have, like, all three versions exist. You know, you could have that kind of classic looking sea devil, but then you could also have the kind of the in-between point of them sort of evolving more into human-like creatures with the, I think it's Homo erectus, which look more like sea devils, but like starting to look a bit more humanoid-esque, and then Homo amphibia, which looks like almost 100% human. That's my little theory that I got going on. I don't know whether that's true and whether it's going to be like a kind of different evolutions kind of thing, but that was the thing I found most interesting about this. Also, interestingly, it shows that Barclay was nominated as ambassador to the Sea Devils by them themselves. He wasn't nominated by the humans, he was nominated by them, implying that he has some existing connection to them as of right now, which is interesting that we do not yet know. Yeah, interesting stuff. I'm liking all these little teasers. Again, I do think that, like, it's kind of interesting that they've gone this route for the marketing. Like, we haven't had a full trailer yet, and like I said, it's starting in, like, what, a few weeks? But maybe that'll be saved for the 23rd. I'm still imagining that's what's going to happen. But I gotta say, the more we're seeing of this, the more I'm liking the look of it. It gives very Torchwood vibes. I do think it would just end up being kind of hilarious if this Sea Devil show that everyone's just kind of been saying, like, oh, you know, who asked for this or whatever, just ends up being the best thing about, like, the last era, is just like, oh yeah, this Sea Devil show is just really good for, like, no reason. It just turns out to be absolutely great, which, I mean, would always be nice, but then I almost would sort of feel like, if this is, like, good and serious and, like, what we were wanting totally from RTD2, I think it will make me even more annoyed that, like, the actual Doctor Who era itself didn't live up to that. So, I don't know, but I'm fairly interested. I'm intrigued. Like I said, I'll definitely be watching this show. I don't know how well those videos are going to do. We'll just have to wait and see. But, I mean, the last one where I covered the previous one of these trailers did all right. So, we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. But if you did enjoy the video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you're new. I'm covering regular Doctor Who content as well as any updates with War Between Land and Sea. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later.